Two massive armies stand ready for battle on the sacred soil of Kurukshetra. The air is heavy with the anticipation of conflict as the ranks face one another. Looking at this first shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, the scene opens away from the front lines. The blind king Dhritarashtra asks his counselor, Sanjaya, for a direct report on the activities of his sons and the opposing sons of Pandu. The response begins with a display of psychological pressure. As documented in the 12th verse, the Kaurava granduncle Bhishma roars like a lion and blows his conch shell to hearten King Duryodhana. Instantly, an eruption of kettle drums, tabors, and trumpets blares across the field, answering that single note with a wall of sound. This sensory overload is a deliberate tactic. It is designed to rattle the enemy's resolve before the first arrow is even notched. The text in verses 14 and 15 shows the response from the other side. Lord Krishna and the warrior Arjuna answer with their own celestial conches, specifically named Panchajanya and Devadatta. Arjuna then issues a critical strategic command. He tells Krishna to drive their chariot into the central space between the two armies, positioning himself to look his opponents in the eye. But as he surveys the opposing lines, his confidence vanishes. This translation of verse 29 documents Arjuna's physical collapse. His limbs fail, his mouth goes dry, and his entire body begins to shiver. This paralysis reaches a breaking point here in verse 30. Arjuna's legendary bow, the Gandiva, slips from his hand as his mind begins to whirl in confusion. We have to understand why the world's most formidable warrior, guided by a god and fully armed for victory, suddenly surrenders before the fight even begins. At Kurukshetra, the lines are drawn between cousins. The Pandavas and the Kauravas have reached the breaking point of a family fracture that has lasted for generations. As we can see on this family tree, the conflict traces back through years of rivalry. The success of the Pandavas drove the Kaurava prince, Duryodhana, into a state of relentless jealousy. To strip the Pandavas of their power, the Kauravas used a rigged game of dice. The loss cost the Pandavas their kingdom and their entire inheritance. As a consequence of that defeat, the Pandavas were forced into a 13-year exile, living as outcasts away from their home. Years of betrayal and exile reached a point where diplomacy could no longer bridge the divide. When the exile ended, the Pandavas returned to ask for their rightful land. Duryodhana refused to share even a fraction of the kingdom. He famously declared that he would not give them enough soil to be pierced by the point of a needle. When the armies began to gather, Lord Krishna offered a choice: his massive military force or his own presence as an unarmed guide. Duryodhana took the army, Arjuna chose Krishna. With no territorial compromise and both massive armies already in the field, war became the final mechanism for justice. This brings us back to Arjuna's surrender. Reading verses 26 and 27, we see the trigger. He isn't looking at faceless enemies, he is looking at his own teachers, his granduncles, and his cousins. In verses 33 through 35, Arjuna realizes that winning a kingdom is worthless if he has to slaughter the very people he loves to attain it. His fear, stated in verse 40, is that destroying the family unit erodes Kula Dharma, ancient traditions stabilizing their society. In the next verse, he predicts a domino effect. With traditions gone, he expects the corruption of the family structure and loss of social order. Arjuna is trapped. Politics demand war, but his humanity demands peace. This vacuum of purpose is the moment Lord Krishna begins the discourse of the Bhagavad Gita.